Yo, what's up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So as you guys know, I try to avoid talking about the big three at heavyweight for as much as possible. You know, Wilder, Joshua and Fury. For whatever reason, I just don't really find it all that interesting to talk about, right? But Deontay Wilder, of course, as we know, there's been a lot of talk in regards to Tyson Fury fighting Deontay Wilder a third time and the ensuing court case to make that third fight happen. Of course, in that second fight, there was a rematch clause for a third fight, but several reports online are indicating that Deontay Wilder is in mediation not to fight Tyson Fury a third time, but basically to get a payout. You know, essentially a step aside. And ultimately, this really lines up with what I said quite some time ago, and a lot of other people said as well, actually, to be fair, that Deontay Wilder really doesn't want a third fight with Tyson Fury. He's just playing an elaborate game to duck that third fight with Tyson Fury. He knows he got lucky in that first fight with a draw against the half-cooked Tyson Fury, and in the rematch, of course, he got beat from pillar to post like a government mule. He wants no parts of Tyson Fury for a third time. We know he can't beat Tyson Fury in a boxing match, and Tyson Fury showed in that rematch it's highly unlikely that Wilder can beat Tyson Fury in a good old-fashioned fist fight. So Deontay Wilder wants to go his own way, cash out and leave this third fight alone. And I've been saying for a long time, this whole Glovegate scenario, the whole Mark Breland was a traitor scenario, all of this was one big psyop in order to maintain the public image that Deontay Wilder wanted a third fight, but in reality, he wanted no part of that third fight. That's what all of this was about. You know, all of these crazy conspiracy theories, silly excuses, it was all one big psyop, as far as I'm concerned, because ultimately, it kind of gives the impression that Deontay Wilder wanted the third fight, that he wanted to put it right and knock out the cheater, but like I said, in reality, he wants no parts of Tyson Fury for a third time, and these conspiracy theories also do a job in keeping Deontay Wilder in the spotlight. What's the old saying? All publicity is good publicity, especially in this day and age, in 2021, where degeneracy and lunacy is celebrated amongst the masses. We see these brain-dead celebrities who are famous for nothing, you know, being idol-worshipped for having a sex tape, for example. Do you know what I mean? Like, degeneracy is celebrated in this day and age. And, you know, people are going to be interested in Deontay Wilder no matter what. And quite frankly, I'm probably being a hypocrite because I feel Deontay Wilder is losing his damn mind. I wonder what would happen when this guy steps foot in the ring again, no matter who it's against. I wonder whether this guy's mentally capable of actually fighting at any decent level the way he's going on, the bizarre behaviour, the bizarre excuses, etc. I wonder whether this guy is actually capable of fighting at a good level, and that in turn makes me interested in his next fight, no matter who he fights. So to me, this whole Glovegate scenario, the whole Breland scenario, all this nonsense, it's all been one big psyop to keep Deontay Wilder's name in the public eye and basically weasel his way out of the third Tyson Fury fight. When Deontay Wilder broke his silence with that silly little video with the piano playing in the background, I said then Deontay Wilder was ducking a third fight with Tyson Fury. I still feel that way now. Deontay Wilder has no shame whatsoever. You know, if he was about his business, a real fighter, a real man, he would say, listen, I got it horribly wrong on February 22nd. I got beat by the better man. I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not going to take the third fight. I'm going back to the drawing board. I'm going to get better as a fighter, and I will knock out the winner of Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. That's what a real fighter would say, a real man would say. But Tyson Fury revealed the bitch in Deontay Wilder, and he's acting accordingly. Deontay Wilder has no accountability, no responsibility for what happened on February 22nd, and he's weaseling his way out of it like the coward he is. I don't mean coward, you know, people always say, if you go in the ring, you're not a coward regardless, but you can still have a weak character, and Deontay Wilder has an extremely weak character, as far as I'm concerned. The guy is a complete and utter mong who's disgraced himself ever since that second fight. And even before that fight, let's be honest. The guy is a complete and utter joke. And like I said, he's a disgrace. And listen, I don't feel I'm being unreasonable. When a guy loses for the first time, or a guy loses who's not used to losing, I understand there's always going to be some sort of excuse, right? Some little minor excuse, like I was injured or I had a bad camp. I can kind of stomach that sort of thing. But the excuses in which Deontay Wilder has came out with, it has been absolutely deplorable. And, you know, quite frankly, I'm not one of those guys who writes fighters off after a loss quickly. I've never been that type, but Deontay Wilder, after that Tyson Fury loss, he's got a long way to come back. He really does. Not only just in the public eye, but him himself as a fighter. You know, if you're not taking responsibility for why you lost a fight, you're not going to improve as a fighter going forwards. You know, and that's been the big thing with Deontay Wilder. He's relied on this punching power all of his time. He believes that he doesn't have to utilise his skills or improve his skills. He can land one punch and knock everybody out. Well, boxing doesn't work like that at the highest level. And Deontay Wilder has suffered a severe case of puncher's arrogance, where he feels one single punch is always going to bail him out. And when it didn't, the guy got horribly exposed. And I can't see him rewinding that at this point. He's 35 years old, you know, had a few injuries now, been out of the ring for a while now. I can't see Deontay Wilder reversing this. I really can't. And yeah, I think we've seen the best of Deontay Wilder. And yeah, to be honest, with Deontay Wilder, how would I summarise this guy? Ultimately, I think Deontay Wilder is one big missed opportunity. If Deontay Wilder had a little more brain power, this guy could have been something a lot more impressive. Wilder had the physical attributes, 6'7", a long guy, relatively good hand speed for a heavyweight, crazy punching power in that right hand. I know he started boxing late, but if he was just a smarter individual who was a student of the game, he could have been so much more effective, as far as I'm concerned. But Deontay Wilder has always shown a reluctance to learn and a reluctance to take responsibility. I always go back to the second Luis Ortiz fight when a journalist asked him, you know, you keep on losing all of these rounds, bloody, bloody, blah. Do you need to improve on your boxing skills? I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what the journalist said. And Deontay Wilder said, I only have to be perfect for 1 second. You know, that's basically Deontay Wilder saying, I don't need to improve my boxing skills because I'm always going to land that one big punch. What is that? A complete lack of accountability and responsibility. And listen, this guy's a fighter, right? And you know, traditionally, boxing fans don't like hearing fighters being called cowards. But to me, Deontay Wilder is a coward. If we're talking about, you know, people in general, men in general, if you're a man who doesn't take responsibility and accountability for his actions, then as far as I'm concerned, you are a coward. That's the definition of a coward, as far as I'm concerned. You've got to strive to improve and, you know, rectify your mistakes. And if you can't, at least you can say you tried. But for me, Deontay Wilder has never tried. He's never shown the willingness to learn and improve himself as a fighter. He got gassed up. His ego went through the roof. Despite all of the warning signs being there that he needs to improve as a fighter, but his ego went through the roof, and eventually his lack of character got exposed in front of the world. And quite frankly, I don't see how Deontay Wilder can actually come back from this. You know, he's got the physical gifts, he's got the power, he's got the hand speed, he's got the size, he's got the reach. Quite frankly, he even has heart in the ring. He took a beating against Tyson Fury, and he took it well. But he doesn't have that character as a man to admit where he went wrong. And as a man, to me, that's always one of the heights of courage, to admit when you went wrong, even if it's just internally to yourself. And then after that, once you've come to that realisation, you strive to improve and rectify those mistakes. Even if you can't do it, at least you tried. You know, that's a sign of courage, and that's a sign of accountability. And that's what Deontay Wilder is lacking. And to me, that's been exposed tenfold in the past few weeks and months. To me, Deontay Wilder, like I said, he's got the gifts physically, but internally, there's a lot lacking there with Deontay Wilder. And quite frankly, I can't see this guy ever becoming the fighter in which his fan base portrayed him as. But there we go. That's my video on Deontay Wilder. Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.